Welcome back to Uncaged Chaos. I'm your host and certified life coach, Andi, and this is where we bring language to what healing actually looks like. And today we're talking about something that I think a lot of us have experienced, but don't always have the language to describe. What do you do when someone tells you that they want to repair the relationship, but somehow you're the only one actually doing the repairing? You're initiating the conversations, asking the questions, reflecting on your part, apologizing, you're trying to understand their perspective, explaining your own, giving grace, making accommodations, you're checking in, trying to rebuild trust. And meanwhile, the other person is giving you reasons why they behave the way they did, and then essentially waiting for you to forgive them so everything can go back to normal. And eventually you find yourself thinking, wait a fucking minute, why am I doing all of this? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Wanting a relationship and working to repair a relationship are two completely different things. And today's episode is about learning how to tell the difference. There was a relationship in my life where there was a pretty significant rupture. And I remember thinking, okay, this hurts, but we'll figure it out. Because I genuinely believed that if two people cared enough about each other, they could work through almost anything. So I got to work. I initiated the conversations, asked the questions, reflected on my own behavior, apologized for the places where I genuinely fell short. I tried to understand their perspective. I tried to understand what had happened. And I kept asking myself, what am I missing? What could I have done differently? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? I was trying to figure out how we could actually repair what had been broken. And every time we talked, I walked into the conversation, hoping we'd each bring a brick to rebuild the bridge between us. But instead, it felt like I was the only one carrying the building materials. Their side of the conversation was mostly explanations, why they reacted the way they did, why they were overwhelmed, why they didn't mean it, why their circumstances made their behavior understandable. And listen, context matters. Intent matters. Understanding why someone did something can absolutely be part of repairing a relationship. But explanation and accountability are not the same thing. Overwhelmed can explain behavior, but it doesn't automatically repair the impact of that behavior. I didn't mean to hurt you can be true, and you can still be hurt. I was struggling can also be true, and I still need to take responsibility for what the behavior caused. At some point, I realized we weren't actually repairing the relationship. We were explaining the damage while expecting me to live in the ruins. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck because we confuse an explanation with resolution. I think if we understand why someone did something, then we're supposed to be okay with it. But understanding isn't the same thing as accepting behavior. And forgiveness isn't the same thing as reconciliation. What hurt the most wasn't even the original rupture. It was the loneliness of realizing I had become the project manager of our healing. I was carrying the emotional labor for two people. I was keeping the conversations alive and checking in. I was trying to reconnect and understand. I was trying to make it safe for both of us to talk. I was trying to figure out what repair was supposed to look like. And eventually I realized something. I had stopped asking, are we repairing together? And I had started asking, how can I make this easier for them? Those are two completely different questions. Because empathy isn't carrying the entire relationship. Emotional labor became constantly monitoring the temperature of the relationship, deciding when it was safe to bring something up, figuring out how to word everything so it wouldn't be misunderstood, initiating every difficult conversation, following up after the conversation, checking in to make sure they were okay, holding space for their emotions while quietly putting mine on a shelf because there wasn't room for both. And somewhere along the way, I realized I wasn't repairing a relationship anymore. I was compensating for the lack of repair. And that's when I had to ask myself one of the hardest questions. If I stopped doing all of this, would anything move forward? And the answer was painful because I realized I had confused someone's desire to keep the relationship with their willingness to help repair it. They wanted the relationship, but wanting the relationship wasn't the same thing as wanting to do the work required to have a healthy one. So what's the difference between wanting you and wanting repair? Someone can miss you. They can love you. Someone can be terrified of losing you. And someone can genuinely believe you're incredibly important to them. and still not be willing to do the work required to repair the relationship. Because feelings create motivation, actions create trust. I don't want to lose you is a feeling, but I'm willing to understand how my behavior impacted you and work on changing it is participation. I love you is a feeling. I'm willing to have uncomfortable conversations without making your feelings the problem is participation. I'm sorry can be meaningful, but an apology without changed behavior is just a form of manipulation. And that's when we sometimes get ourselves into trouble. We hear someone say they want to fix things, and we interpret that as evidence that they're actually willing to fix things. But wanting repair and participating in repair aren't the same thing. There's an analogy that I've been thinking about that really puts this into perspective. Coast Guard rescue training has to account for the fact that the person who's drowning can be panicked, disoriented, and physically dangerous to the person trying to rescue them. The goal isn't simply to swim out and grab someone. The person being rescued has to participate in the rescue to whatever degree they are physically capable of. They may need to grab a flotation device, follow instructions, and reach for the line. They may need to stop fighting against the person trying to help them. The rescuer can provide the lifeline, but they cannot make the other person participate in getting to safety. And I think that's how relationships can work the same way. You can throw someone a lifeline, swim towards them, and extend your hand. You can say, I'm here, I'm willing to talk, I'm willing to work through this, I want to repair this, but you cannot swim for them. You cannot make them grab the life raft. You cannot make them reach for the rope, and you cannot keep pulling someone towards shore while they're refusing to participate in getting there. And eventually continuing to exhaust yourself, it doesn't save the relationship. It just means two people are now drowning instead of one. Now, obviously, relationships are not literal water rescues, and people can be struggling in ways that genuinely impair their ability to participate. This isn't about blaming someone for struggling. It's about recognizing the difference between I am struggling and need support and I expect you to do all the work required to fix what happened between us, because those are not the same thing. And I had to learn that. I thought loving someone meant never giving up on them. I thought if I communicated better, explained myself better, gave more grace, asked better questions, took more accountability, tried harder, eventually we'd get somewhere. But I was trying to rescue a relationship that required two people to swim. And I couldn't do both people swimming. I could offer a lifeline, make myself available. I could take responsibility for my side, and I could say, I'm willing to work through this. But I couldn't make someone else pick up the end of the rope. And that's not abandonment. That's recognizing the difference between supporting someone's healing and becoming responsible for it. You can throw the rope, but you cannot make someone grab it. Now, here's where I want to make an important distinction. Because all of this can easily be turned into, well, if they're not doing enough, then I'm just done. And that's not necessarily the answer either. Sometimes we think someone isn't showing up for repair when we haven't actually told them what repair looks like for us. We expect them to know, to understand, to read between the lines. And that's not fair either. So before you decide someone isn't participating, you need to make sure you're advocating for yourself. Actually tell them what you need. Not, I just need you to care. Be specific. I need you to be willing to have this conversation without becoming defensive. I need you to acknowledge the impact your behavior had on me, even if it wasn't your intention. I need to see consistent behavior change over time, not just an apology today. I need both of us initiating conversations about how we're doing. I need us to be able to talk about what happened without one of us becoming the villain for bringing it up. That's advocacy. You're giving someone information they need to actually meet you. And then comes the really fucking hard part. You have to let them answer. Not the answer you hope for, not the answer you think that they should give, and not the answer that you can negotiate them into. The actual answer. Sometimes their answer is, I don't see it that way. Sometimes it's, I don't agree. And sometimes it's, I'm not willing to do that. And sometimes it's just silence or defensiveness. Sometimes they tell you they want to repair things, but their behavior tells you that they don't want to participate in that repair. And here's the thing. That is information. Information is not rejection. It's just information. Your job isn't to convince them to give you a different answer. Your job is to decide what you're going to do with the answer that has been given to you. And this is where acceptance gets misunderstood. Acceptance does not mean I agree with your decision. It means I recognize that this is your decision and I'm going to stop trying to control it. You can disagree with someone's answer and still accept it as their answer. You can be devastated by someone's choice and still respect that it's theirs. You can wish they would meet you halfway and still recognize that they're standing exactly where they want to. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is releasing your grip on an outcome you don't control. And there's a huge distinction between advocacy and control. Advocacy says, here's what I need. Control says, and you need to give it to me. Advocacy says, this is what I'm willing to participate in, where control says, you need to participate the way I want you to. Advocacy says, this behavior doesn't work for me. Control says, I need to make you understand why you're wrong. Acceptance says, you get to decide what you do with what I've told you, and I get to decide what I do with your answer. That's where your agency lives, not in controlling their response. It's in choosing your response. And there's another piece of this I really want to emphasize: forgiveness versus repair. You can forgive someone and still not trust them. You can still maintain a boundary. You can still have compassion for why someone behaved the way they did, and still decide you don't want to have that behavior in your life. You can love someone and recognize that relationship isn't healthy for you. Forgiveness is something you choose internally. Repair is relational. It requires participation from both people. And reconciliation requires something even deeper: evidence that the relationship can safely exist differently than it did before. So when someone says, but I said I was sorry, why can't we just move forward? My question is, move forward into what? Because if nothing has changed, you're not moving forward. You're going back. So what does genuine repair actually look like? It looks like accountability without requiring a courtroom presentation. It looks like curiosity. Help me understand what this was like for you. It looks like being able to hear impact without immediately defending intent. It looks like taking responsibility without needing to be convinced that you're a bad person first. It looks like asking, what can I do differently next time? It looks like changed behavior. Not for 3 days, not until the conversation blows over, but consistently. It looks like both people initiating, listening, adjusting, and tolerating discomfort. Both people willing to say, I fucked up. And sometimes, I don't understand it yet, but I believe that it hurt you. That's repair. Not perfection, participation. So if you're listening to this and wondering whether you're actually repairing a relationship together or doing all of the work yourself, ask yourself, am I the only one initiating difficult conversations? Am I the only one apologizing? Am I the only one reflecting on my behavior? Am I constantly managing their emotions while mine go unattended? Do they ask questions about my experience? Do they show curiosity? Do they take responsibility without immediately explaining it away? Are their actions changing? If I stopped doing the emotional labor today, would the relationship continue to move forward to repair? And here's the one I really want you to sit with. Am I responding to who this person actually is showing me they are, or am I responding to who I believe they could be if they finally understood? Because those are two very different relationships. One exists in reality. The other exists in potential. And you cannot build a life around potential. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for another person is stop doing for them what they need to learn to do for themselves. That doesn't mean you don't care, and it doesn't mean you're punishing them. It doesn't mean you're giving up. And it means you're allowing them to have agency. You're saying, I believe you're capable of making your own choices. And then you're making yours. You can throw the rope, swim towards them, offer your hand. You can advocate, communicate, apologize, forgive, invite. But at some point, you have to stop swimming in circles trying to convince someone to grab the rope. Because the lifeline isn't the problem. Their choice is the information. And once you've advocated for yourself clearly, continuing to argue with their answer does not create repair. It just keeps you in the water. So if you're the one carrying the relationship right now, this isn't permission to stop caring. It's permission to stop confusing care with responsibility. You are responsible for your honesty, your accountability, your growth, your willingness to repair. your boundaries, your choices. But you are not responsible for dragging another person across the bridge they refuse to help build. Relationships don't heal because one person becomes extraordinary at carrying the weight. They heal because two people decide that the relationship is worth tolerating the discomfort required to rebuild it. A bridge only works when both sides are willing to build towards the middle. Otherwise, you're just standing at the edge holding a handful of lumber, wondering why nobody can cross. And maybe that's uncaging. Maybe freedom isn't always getting the relationship you wanted. Maybe sometimes it's releasing yourself from the belief that you have to earn someone's participation by trying harder. You can love them, you can forgive them, you can understand them, you can absolutely wish it was different. And you can still say, I've shown you what I need, I've offered the lifeline, I've done my part. Now I have to believe the answer you're going to give me, because you cannot throw the rope and swim for them. And sometimes the most painful act of self-respect isn't swimming harder. It's getting yourself safely to shore. This is Uncaged Chaos, where we work through the hard topics in healing. And remember, you don't have to carry two people's weight to prove that you care.